duos. It just has to happen. 5 games and they don't make it, I'll cry. I'll cry on stage. I'll do it.
We don't want that. Nobody wants to see that. I promise you that. But they don't know, right? A very similar story. I think many people expect this team to eventually win a game. Maybe not the consistency type of team. I don't think they ever have been when you look at their history.
But this used to be yin and yang. This used to be the staple in terms of duo synergy. I'm looking at a few of their performances just throughout the season, looking at the direction specifically of the duo. Who is really the one in the lead? What are the causes of problems? Regardless, the aggression, the confidence is not there as the same as before. Definite chance here. They do the best when they're going against the grain, right? That grain, in my opinion, being what we see on screen, 80 and hard find. In a format like this, playing a little bit more passive, going from zone to zone. Surge issues overall, as we look at through in the weeks. Possibly have a chance to fix that now as the lobby does change a little bit in skill. They should be shooting for at least top 5 overall. I wouldn't even say a win.
Yeah, and I think the good thing about this team is that, you know, when we saw them throughout some of the weeks, they were struggling with being contested off spawn. They couldn't quite get into their rhythm. If they're not having to worry about that, yeah, they certainly would be the team to just get through on consistency. Albeit as long as they have the right type of games. Of course, we spoke to Jackson before the competition started today. And beyond that, we know some of the things that have been going on over at Slappy Shores and how hectic of a POI it can be to fight at.
A little bit of recon as well from Jackson. Room still looking clean. See how he rocks in. Turtle. Also, they're biding their time at Slappy. Have a little bit of ways to go. The zone pulling all the way towards the Citadel. Not looking for a few shots too. Slova up and active. Just saw a lot of breakdowns from both Mini and Takata. That's a few of the augments that this team was using. Excalibur rifle also in hand. Shattered slabs. This is going to be a big point of control. You want to be early on timing. So many mountains here. We've seen how much of an effect they have on EU and have control versus you don't. You get to actually dictate how you play the game when you're a bit earlier towards the side, but if not, it's a big key.
Yeah, of course. Plenty going on all around the map. A little bit hard to keep up with, especially when we have so many of these teams vying for win. Fortunately for us, we have a player who is very experienced in handling these type of games. The one and only EU legend, Savid himself. Savid, what you got for us?
Thank you so much. It's nice to be here. Here we have a clip of Norali and Vadil breaking it down. They got an early game kill. They managed to get some Surge off spawn. So they used that. Instead of greeting the second kill, they managed to go and rotate early using the Surge they have and get a good position for the mid game to get even more Surge and hopefully put them in a good spot for the end game. Thank you guys.
Let's go, Save It. That's what I'm talking about. The Elam pressure from this duo is exactly what they've been pushing season after season after season. Look to be back in form as to where they want to look to go. The bodies have to match the optics, the vision though. Kukavoko, same thing. Long type rotate towards the north side of the map. They'll come out towards that side. Should be a powerful spot.
Of course, we'll have Savid to give us a bunch more updates throughout the day. I'd love to get his insight, right? Being someone who has won these type of games in previous seasons. We know how intense it can be. My favorite part about these sessions is seeing the actual live player reaction, seeing how nervous people are. Their mouth is shaking as they're playing. It is so intense. The stakes are so high. Of course, this is different to what we've seen previously. Right? We only have this one day, right? These 5 games compared to the past where we had a bit more.
All the way in the spot too. All the way in the autumn wood. Looking for a few shots. It's usually very difficult to get eliminations here, especially on the rotation. Excalibur to the body. Back drawn down. That's how he does it.
Hey, look, we don't see the Excalibur get much use like that, right? But, you know, you expect to see people drop it at some point. If he can keep hitting shots like that, I'm sure he'll keep it in the inventory.
This is where they slow down a bit for a bunch of the teams, especially on a zone that's towards the west side of the map. For early hitters, though, who are basing up lethal towards the lobby.
Yeah, really nice shots connecting there with the red eye. Of course, they do have quite a ways to go to get to zone and a bunch of teams that stand in between them in that journey. So it's all about making that right play, finding that time and that avenue to be able to move forward.
No time for pit stops either. We're still pulling north. Although a good base from Noms, the more time they spend here, the less they have control of the future portion of the game. Vadil and O'Reilly already moving from old box to retired build. Pushing straight into zone as fast as possible. This reminds me of just one of these old seasons where they finally had a coach in their ear. They finally had a little bit more guidance and direction. They stopped going for nuisance, nonsense type eliminations and fights. They stayed focused on where they needed to be. And they absolutely owned and controlled the entire lobby seem to be almost back into that type of form, disengaging from a fight. Vidil Noah still pushed through. They get here in just a second. They'll have so much room to keep playing.
Yeah, I like that, right? Looking good on materials, and so just pushing through that team that was sitting there above them, trying to hold them from getting in, investing a bit of brick, because the positioning ahead of them is far more valuable than the brick they spent, and they can just refarm here, right?
Exactly. That's the smartest thing. Not only just getting all the pressures off from shots, but moving towards resources you can easily farm up once again. It's huge. You gotta know. Gotta have the knowledge.
No, I like that from them. We'll see if they can continue in that vein. This is what I'm talking about on the flip side, though, when you're behind the rest of the lobby.
It's a running theme with Hen, right? Way back in the day with Queasy, they're landing all the way up top towards Sleepy. It's we don't have cars. Now it's near Frenzy. We don't have what? What's left, Hen? That's what I'm wondering. We have augments now where you can keep sprinting, mantling. You get your energy back. Gotta do something.
He's got to whip out something. I think we've seen some of the analysts talk about, you know, will his ability as an IGL be enough as good as his ability as a fragger? I think that was always one of the problems he had when playing with other people, right? His will to just almost make his own plays, and sometimes that clashing heads. And so now that he has the free reins to make the plays he wants to, I know for Nas, the kind of player he is, he's never going to really dispute much. So he definitely has full control.
One thing Nas can do is just adapt. And one thing we've seen from Hen is when he makes these impulsive plays, sometimes it wins them absolute championships. I'm looking at more than 2/3 of the lobby not in zone right now. The FNCS having a filter on it like we're watching a movie in a different country. It's crazy. Noah Riley now fighting inside his box. Here comes Maul. Unfortunate. Fishy also going for a dive. And it's a full finish.
This is exactly what you can expect to see more of. When desperation hits, you see the big dogs being pushed to the side. Mahi and Fishy, they desperately needed Surge. 300 below is absurd, for one. But they needed damage, and they dealt the damage. They got in the box, and O'Reilly and Vidil, who we always associate with being top fighters in the region, just weren't able to handle it.
They had the timing, they had the power, they had the surge. What it didn't really have is just vertical position. You need some air, my friends. They were so low in those builds. A mountain towards their right. Unfortunate. Meanwhile, Pink breathing highly oxygenated atmosphere all the way towards the top. Based on bullshit, you see a POV of some of these, I'm going to just call them purple teams who've been in the storm so long. Their entire outfits are changing. Still 59 above. It's not just that much, and more teams falling within the feed, something we've been tuning in with on rotation. They have to move past the Citadel. We're going straight towards the top left, towards Blackwater Bay. That big vertical mountain, Mesa dropping down, going for a few shots all around. Wood builds too, so these shots will absolutely chop through like hot knife and butter. It's going to be easy for this duo.
Yeah, that's going to be something that they're going to need to be on point together, synergized as a duo. Plenty of talent, plenty of firepower. And so if they can keep picking off fights like that, they'll be well on their way to rising in the standings.
Seeing a lot of surprises from a lot of boxes too. It pays to be a passive, more observant duo. I see Freezy and Lucia right now up in the low ground. I think that's exactly their style of play. It has been for weeks, which is why we haven't really seen them higher on the series leaderboard. No elims going into final zones at all. They make that top 10. They don't do anything while doing it. They're really good at that position. That's going to pay off for now because they can end up popping off, take more risks.
And look, we've not talked about them much, but they are definitely a team I could expect to see come out and win a game today. That would be well up their alley. But first things first, they've got to start getting towards the zone. That Shockwave Hammer will allow them to do that as they move on through. A bit of damage being taken, but that's a given with how desperate everyone is in the lobby for Surge right now. Everybody with their ARs out and scoped in.
I'm curious as to what their heals actually look like. Says, looks like Lucia's gonna have to dive in into a few of those consumables. That end game type of situation, you want to have those heals saved up. Nas though, absolutely shambolic. 24 HP out of those white heals, barely making it in the zone.
Yeah, the sorting sprints will move him just into the zone. But bigger questions needed to be asked about how in which they're going to be able to play this, getting stuck now and a bit more damage being taken. This is not where Nas wants to be whatsoever.
It's a housing crisis. There's no space to live. The bridge is taken over. People are building skyscrapers just in the air. Anas is gone. This could be better for Hendo. We've seen him when a solo situation comes around, his brain expands. He learns how to breathe, how to think. If there's focus, though, he might not live long enough to make it things fun.
Yeah, no stranger to intense solo clutches, but this might be a bit too much to ask of him. So many players around, and the congestion here is absolutely unreal. You've got to think nobody in the lobby got the forecast augment, right? Because nobody could have foreseen it. The whole lobby just here on this zone line, it seems so hard to traverse through in these lobbies. But that's what it's all about here in Surge Week, the most difficult games many of these players will play all season long.
We're seeing similar patterns across many duos too. They're starting up with a few new IGL roles. Egram, who didn't really used to be in that spot, relied on that synergy, just lost Buzz down below. They're gonna be so close by Yesin and Hem. Or him and Hem. Arc also with T'Challa. Once again, just rough on being able to get Surge in this type of lobby. If you have that position, they're all around that north side. They can just watch everyone else play the game.
Yeah, they are in a spot that many people would love to be in right now. They don't really have to worry. They can move the way they want, move the way they like. There is one team based up way up on that mountain that can get an angle on them, but they have plenty of natural cover to use for Pink and Nebs. They can start to make their move as well. And doing a brilliant job considering how far north this zone is. They aren't sitting too badly, but of course, a refresh would be wonderful, especially with the kind of materials and loot that they are working with. Certainly not ideal, but when you look at some of the other teams they're competing with, not bad at all.
They just need that little bit of high ground position. Watching weeks 2 and 3, so close to controlling the game. So many hammers come up and down. They just lose control. Queasy Vino stop them. They're not here now, so they have a chance if they can get off the floor.
And they might start looking for a refresh right about now, right? A team landing right towards them on their boxes. This is where we need to see them instincts come out. We know Pink can be a playmaker. Nebs, when he's in his element, is a scary, scary player. They're going to need to connect to something fast. Hen looking to make a play for himself as well. He might have just found something. There is a knocked body here, and that loot's going to do wonders for Hen if he can stay alive and get out, but no, way too much for him to handle.
Points secured on the board, it looks like, though, if he did start that elimination off, but it might just be a pickup. Dardini moving in. Here we're going to be down for now. Looking good on Surge, another solo spot, but it looks like every single duo has a radar of a sort. A sixth sense looking at who's actually in shambles, who doesn't have that support of a teammate. He's not going to make it too far, but somehow still surviving.
Yeah, most of the time when I'm seeing Jordy in powerful positions, it's when he's alive with Kira thriving. Now as a solo, having to go down to just his bare instincts, just survive. That's what it's all about. A player falling right in front of his face, and maybe some loot for him to pick up there. You can see here, getting a bit of revenge onto Hen, but I'm sure he'd much rather have Kira alive in the game. Oh dear, what do we have here?
Uguay, Ziandi, I would assume in a zone like this, coming in from the right side, you have a little bit of experience advantage, but it's just too chaotic. Ziandi's maxed in this situation too. He's already used so many to survive. He finds a little bit of reprieve. The zone has
He is. As a solo in this kind of a game, it's going to be so incredibly difficult, especially this early on. We're only here at the 5th zone. It's going to have to be an all-time performance from Ziandi.
the 6 to go anywhere as well. Straight down into water where you need mats, you need 2 teammates alive, or up towards mountains where you need eyes, ears, a multiplicity of them. Tracking every single duel possible is going to be so hard as a solo for now from top down. We can see Pink and Nebs have absolute control over Texture's Axe Force, also putting in their bid to be presidents of that high ground, of that vital air, to just rain down shots straight below, pick up so many points. 635 above of Surge, 10 points locked in. The win is what matters for a lot of these teams.
And yeah, they might be leaders in materials right now in this lobby. 130 builds is much more than what we've seen all across the board. And of course, the hammers will go such a long way in making this game a good one.
I'm really impressed. It feels like I'm watching Blitz. They just dropped in.
Yeah.
What have they done the whole game? It's amazing.
It's been an easy ride for them. Can't say the same for some of their competitors. You're seeing here, Milad and Siren, they're just trying to drop a small amount of builds that they do have.
And this is going to be rough. A bunch of these teams is going to have to move towards that top left. A little bit of a max rotate for a lot of them. A few pulling for the moment. There are no builds here, though. This is a brand new territory for, I would say, at least 20 of these teams of the 23 that are alive for the moment. Just a few came in from that top side. Pink and Nebs do not have the builds to be able to sustain that the whole time. question marks for a lot of these teams.
I think the problem we're seeing, right, is they have 7 limbs, Shayo, and they still look like they're shambles, right? They're getting, all the plays are being made, but nobody actually has anything that bears fruit for them. So again, just gonna have to keep moving. You're seeing how Axel's and Vortex's, their position is so strong. They can just sit up here above and just take players out. Ju falls on the wayside.
Every single hammer going straight into their sight lines, no protection whatsoever. It's not just lightning, it's the thunderous power of their shots from high ground that's stopping everyone from rotating. Andy looking for a few more shots too, just 22 HP. He's not gonna make it past that point.
He falls, and you could have expected that, saw it from a mile away with just how tough things are. Siren, if he gets split off for too long, it'll be Milad playing as a solo as well. Just having to recoup with his teammate, the Bush here, will allow them to get the HP back up as well.
Van Wise up in this moment with an absolute rainbow loadout, looking for a few more shots of his own. Hammer down straight towards the next part of zone. Next to Arc, it's a two-time type of situation. He's able to chain both hits. Axe-Force Vortexers, look at the control they have on high ground as the server drops down below, straight towards the water. Everyone is now in trouble, sinking, drowning. Astral finds Maximilian, they're still locked down good.
The zone pull back, that gives them a bit more time just to breathe, reload the weapons before they go on the pursuit again. For Pink and Nebs, they're still hunting, they're still fighting. Nebs trying to connect to something, but needs to create some space. You see the 4x4 that Pink's created.
Now it's down to one box too, so he'll have to find something creative. Astral Maximilian still going on.
And they're pushing in, they're getting their limbs as
right foot.